So last week for the Atomic Habits, tiny changes, remarkable results, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. And James Clear wrote this book. We did the introduction last week, talked a little about his story, and then it went into his review or his thoughts on setting goals versus having systems in place to help us change our habits and stay consistent, which would actually affect us for the long term versus short term goal setting. Because when we set our goal, we change our habits, but once that goal is complete, we're done. So James is saying no more of that. We need to be consistent in small steps of changing certain habits and basically just try to make it a lifestyle, right? So that was last week. So today, chapter 2, it's about how our habits shape our identity. Now, I was like, wow, that one's deep. And it could go so far. I went far in my head, especially when he said identity. But I was like, you know what, Natalie, this isn't about you. It's about James and what James has to tell us. So let's go with what James has to say about how our habits shape our identity. So he says that it is easy to repeat bad habits, as we know. And why is that? Because it's comfortable. We're not aware of how the long-term damage of whatever we're doing will affect us in years to come. Sometimes we're not aware of it. And sometimes people don't care, or we don't have people around us to encourage us to get out of our own way. Excuse me. And why do they stick around for a long time? Sometimes because we don't know how to get out of it. Once you recognize that something's wrong, it's like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Well, I'm kind of embarrassed to talk to anybody about it, so I'm just going to leave it alone. And it just consistently gets worse in whatever area of our lives. So with that said, it's a disservice to us. When we decide to change our habits, it's challenging for two reasons. And this chapter focuses on why try to change. Why, and that's because we try to change the wrong thing. And then also, there's two layers of change, right? There's the outcome, where it focuses first on the result. So we focus on, this is my goal. I want to be 180 pounds. I want to fit into these pants. So this is the way I got to do it. And when we do that, we are focused on any financially. Ooh, I had a poor connection. I'm back. Okay. So we're focused on the subscribers on our Instagram pages or our social media if you're a business person and that's what you're looking at. If it's financially related, you're looking at, I need to have a credit score of how much, and that's the goal. That's what we look at first, the outcome. But instead, what we should be doing is we should be focusing on the identity. Now, there's also a second layer, which is the change process. So there's the outcome and then there's the process. And when we focus on the process, that's when we develop systems. Because yes, that was another thing that he spoke about last week, is what systems do we put in place to help us change. So if we have eating healthier, working out, monitoring our health, building better routines, these things obviously will help us change our outcome in the long term. But at the same time, there's little things that have to be implemented into our daily routines. And that's that 1% that he spoke about as well last week, where we spoke about it last week, where he said 1% every day. How much of an increase would that be in a year versus not doing anything at all? during the year, right? So we have to make a conscious effort to reduce issues, such as paying bills on time, borrowing less, being conscious of purchasing things that are wants versus needs. And if you're dealing with social media, if that's what you're a business person and you're looking for that engagement, then sometimes you have to post more because that's what you need to do. And if you need to look at the way you're posting or what it is that your content is on your page, you have to review that as well. Instead of looking at, oh my gosh, I need these followers, you have to look at what am I sharing with my followers. So it doesn't matter what area of your life you're working on, we have to make sure that we are focusing on not just the outcome, but the process of how to get there. Now, it says here the deepest layer of change is the identity. Now, he identified this whole the layers of change like peeling an onion. You go through peeling an onion, first layer, second layer, third, and it keeps going deeper. But what he's saying is we got to go from the core outwards. So really and truly, we have to look at our identity. What does our identity say about us, right? It's the things that we believe and we think about ourselves. It's cultural related. It's characteristics and worldviews that we think. Those things shape our identity. So I say we are conquerors. I listen to a song. We are conquerors, and that is Kirk Franklin. So if you check that out, that song is beautiful. We're conquerors. We are kings and queens. That's how we got to look at ourselves. If we have that view of ourselves, we're not aggressive because that's usually what the first layer of our minds are. We are seen as aggressive people. We're uneducated. These are the words that are given to us and what's thrown around in society, so that label tends to stick with our people. Yes, dear. Yes. No, all good, cuz. Thank you. And with that type of mindset or those thought processes, it doesn't make it any easier for us to change and commit to change because we go in and out of our emotions because of that, the way we think that we don't necessarily have the capability for more, right? When we're looking at negative thoughts about ourselves, right? So it says all three layers, which is the process, the outcome, the process, and the identity. All three of those layers are important. However, we have to restructure how we think, right? So instead of thinking of the outcome, like I said, look at the identity. So an example of this is, he used an example of a person smoking and someone offering them a cigarette. And instead of saying, oh, no thanks, I'm trying to quit, you would say, no thanks, I'm not a smoker. Now, if you hear negative thoughts, they stay around for way too long. Way too long. So if you hear someone say, I'm trying not to quit, no thanks, I'm trying not to quit, then it's like somebody won't necessarily stick to listening to you because they might be like, it's okay, just have one, it's not going to be a bad thing. That leaves room for negotiation, right? But the thing is, if you say to a person, no thanks, I'm not a smoker, they can be like, oh, since when? All right. And more than likely leave you alone, right? So it's the way that we share information with people and the way we speak out loud and to ourselves that reflects our ability to... I'm having a bad internet connection today. Do you see it go away? You're probably even driving right now. So we need to make a conscious effort of the words that we speak, so that way we would be able to definitely just continue on our path to... It cuts out for a second. Yeah, I noticed that. It says poor internet connection. I paid my internet bill, okay? Oh boy. Okay, so our beliefs drive our actions. So overspending, as this is a financial page, Let's focus on going out and, you're doing your thing, you're shopping with your friend, and they're like, buy it, that would look good on you. And then all of a sudden, you're like, oh, I'm not, I'm trying, you know what? This thing cutting in and out is just getting on my nerve. It's too early. Okay, so buy it. That would look good on you. And you say to the person, you know what? I'm trying to budget right now, so no, I don't want it. Then they're going to look at you and be like, girl, budget for what? You never know, depending on the friend you have. Girl, what's wrong with you? Buy it. It's okay. It's only $12. It's like $20. Throw some number at you to make it seem minimal. But the thing is, you have a change in your life that you are moving forward with. So the thing is, you should be like, no, I don't need it. And I'm actually following a budget. So that way you sound a lot more confident. It's boiling. It's a split second. Okay, thank you. So the thing is, we need to be more firm in our statements that we say to people. So that way, one, we sound more reassured in who we are changing into. And at the same time, people be like, oh, that's good. They'll acknowledge you. You never know. You might even get someone that says, let me join you. When did you start? They'll ask you more about your journey, which in having an accountability partner is great. And as you know, it's great to have the Create Fate group because there's a group of like-minded people on there who are all looking to focus on improving their lives in different areas, right? Um, eh, eh, uh, I like having the accountability partnership. It's important. It says, this one says our behavior. Yes, it is good. Our behavior that is incongruent with self will not last. So he's saying that incongruent is basically, it's not in aligned, it's a mixed emotion. It's like you're not sure on what you're doing. So if you have a behavior that is not in alignment with what you are doing, then unfortunately we are going to suffer the result of going back and forth into doing whatever we're doing, right? So there's a chapter that speaks on, it says it's hard to change your habits if you never change the underlying beliefs that led to your past behavior. Intrinsic motivation is the ultimate. It's ultimate when, can you hear stuff banging in my house? Oh my gosh. When habits become a part of your identity. So intrinsic motivation is ultimate when habits become a part of your identity. I'll give you an example for that. So me being in debt, when I was in debt and I had the bankruptcy, it was embarrassing. I never spoke about it. And then I just decided to make a change, right? When I changed my mind, I thought about it. I was like, you know what? I have to see myself. I know I deserve better. People deserve better in life, and why am I not one of them? This can't be my life. Plus, I have responsibilities to family and a child and stuff, so I got to make some changes. So I started to look at what I wanted for my life. I started to think about it, and then I said, you know what? I'm going to take action. I spoke positively to myself. We're saying where I deserve. We need to start letting ourselves know I deserve more. Because when we tell ourselves that, we're going to keep giving ourselves the opportunity to get to more. I started to write affirmations. Here's my little affirmation book, right? I make sure that I write out even a short sentence, a short statement that's very impactful and encouraging. And when I don't get to write it, I look into my book of affirmations and review it. I started to learn. I started to visit, like we were in COVID anyway, so there were a lot of lives going on with financial people, just teaching, you know what I mean? I started to attending a lot of lives. I'm already in the financial sector, so went to a lot of meetings and I started to immerse myself in learning. And then I took action, right? I started to enjoy the results of me actually paying off debt. My gosh, I'm calling these creditors that I used to fight with, and we're not arguing, we're having a conversation, and I'm making payments. So when they sent me the debt release letter, I was like, yes. I started to feel good about the changes. So it was an effect of me making movements, speaking in my head, constantly being around the surrounding that was feeding me in the area that I wanted to see improvements, right? So these are the things that we need to do as we start to make our habits a part of our daily activity. So then there's a shift. And if we do not shift the belief behind the behavior, then it is hard to stick with the long term. So if we do not shift the belief behind the behavior, then it is hard to stick with long-term change. So example, if we have a goal and it's to read a book, you don't say, oh, yeah, I'm going to read a book. Well, not even a goal. If you want to become a reader, you don't say, I'm going to read a book every month. What you're going to say is, I'm going to be a reader, right? I want to read. I want to continuously read. You don't want to read for a certain time. You don't want to put that month on there. You know that you want to start reading more. Just say, I want to become a reader. And that in itself will encourage you to continuously pick up books and read. My goal is to be debt free. That's very limiting because at the end of the day, do you want to just be debt free? No, the statement should be, my goal is to be financially savvy. How does that sound? Must sound good. I want to be financially savvy because that sounds well-rounded. It means that you want to be knowledgeable, intuitive, understanding, and you need to comprehend things. You will be able to comprehend things and also realize certain things that are happening within your finances when you are financially savvy versus saying, I want to be debt free. That's just limiting. Then there is, once we believe in a particular aspect of our identity, we are more likely to take action in alignment with the belief. So that word alignment, for me, honestly, back in the days, I used to hear it a lot, but I've been hearing it a lot towards the end of 2019. Oh, I don't have a Kleenex. 2020 is when I started to hear it a lot. Sorry, towards the end of 2020, I heard a lot of people using the word alignment. And it sounds good, right? Alignment. But at the same time, how does that happen? It happens when you follow through, right? So the words in that sentence, there's 3 words that stood out to me. And one of them was identity. It's who we are, how we see ourselves, how people see us. The word more. The word more is more firm and likely to happen instead of saying could or maybe. We don't want to say could or maybe or I'm trying. You don't want to say that. You need to say firm words that commit to long-term changes. They always say our tongue is powerful and we need to be very, very conscious of the words that we use. Good morning, Sharon. Thanks for joining. I'm just going along, just talking away about chapter 2 of the Atomic Habits. So we're talking about certain words that we use that are very limiting in our journey to change, right? So one of the words, the last word in that sentence was alignment, which means following through and seeing it go from one end to another, not backtracking, right? It's very important to have the right words and the right people in your circle. It says, when we incorporate the habit into our identity, there is no need to convince ourselves to take action. We just do it. So that's why we have to eliminate statements that are negative and put limitations on us. And then at the same time, we have to do our best to get rid of the old way. So if you say, I'm horrible at math, well, are you ever going to get better at math? It doesn't mean that you don't have to say, oh, I'm great at math. But what you can say is, give me a minute. If somebody asks you to help them with a math question, you could say, you know what? Give me a minute. Let me try to figure it out. Or you can let them know, you know what? Let's get some help on this. You don't have to tell people I'm horrible at math. Because if you're horrible at math, you will never get good at math. And it doesn't mean you have to like math, but it's what we say. It's how we use our tongue. Now, process requires unlearning. So sometimes, and that's what it is actually, it's not sometimes, we have to unlearn. Guys, that is Noel's alarm. Why does he set his alarm to 6 o'clock? Okay? That's extra. We have to constantly edit our belief in who we are and where we see ourselves. So, yes, right now may be the vision that you're not necessarily wanting for yourself in this stage of life, but we're not going to focus on where we are so much. We need to focus on where we want to be. What does that look like? What do I have to do when I get there? Whatever you need to do when you get there are the things that you need to do right now. Like, for myself, waking up earlier on a daily basis is important. Why? Because it will give me more time to prep, maybe my business calls, go through my emails and do certain things. Good morning, Carla. It will be able to give me time to prep the things that I have to do for my business, organize my life, so that way I will not get occupied and overwhelmed later on throughout the day. We have to change our way of what we're doing now to prepare for the place that we want to be in the future. And the reason why we do this is because you never know when that big opportunity gets presented to you. And when it gets presented to you, if you're not, like for me, if I wait to start waking up early and then all of a sudden I get clients calling me, people saying, I'm interested in this, I'm interested in that, can you help me? Then I'm going to be overwhelmed, because staying and resting for too long takes away from a lot of time that I could be using to do something productive. So it's little changes that yield us big results. And then it says, so not what it says, actually. Another thing is when it comes to financially, I started to collect receipts. Obviously, being on a financial journey, we want to get a lot more organized. It's important to look at our numbers and be on it. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to set a day where I chill out and I calculate my end of week receipts to see my spending. That's a small thing that I've done, but I've included it into my time to listen to a podcast, maybe listen to a TV show, and then just do what I'm doing and relax myself. I don't make it a big deal, and I don't do it I do it weekly now, because I find that weekly budgeting helps versus doing it monthly, right? Because if you want to really start to get your financial numbers in order, we have to do a lot more, being more attentive to our numbers. So then he says there's a two-step process to changing your identity. And as we said, it's our beliefs, right? I'm sorry, this thing keeps going blank. Our beliefs of self and life is learned and conditioned through our experiences. So what are we experiencing, right? The more that we repeat negative things, it just reinforces negativity to happen. So we have to kind of pay attention to that. And that's where that 1% change comes in every day. For myself, I'm going to give you guys a little thing. I used to go to bed very late. And when I went to bed late, I was up on the computer and I was drinking my drink because I like a little Appleton. So I would drink my Appleton. I'd be productive because I'm doing work. But at the same time, I was going to bed like 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I have to get up at like 7:15 and deal with my household, Noel and everything else. And it became overwhelming. It became tiring. That was not conducive to the lifestyle that I need to live in the long term. So I had to make a change. I had to say, okay, get to bed early. I joined a water challenge to help out. I have a support team, which is family. I also have other networks that I have on social media and also within business that encourage me, and I ask people questions. What's been working for you? How does that look? And the more I started to talk about it, I started to realize, you know what, that shift might really, really help you. And when you look at what successful people do, they get their rest, they eat well, they do work hard, but they work smart. So the thing is, it just meant that I had to make some adjustments to what I was doing. And to be honest, waking up early in the morning has been so nice. It's been so good because I get at least 3 hours in the morning to myself, and I get to put in a lot of work, and I get time for reflection, right? So I don't know about you guys. I mean, I know, Sharon, you wake up early in the morning on a regular basis, and a lot of other people wake up early in the morning. Carla, Tremaine, you guys all wake up early, so you're used to it. But for me, I'm a night worker, so that's another thing, right? But that 1% change every day when it's time to wake up, I got to tell myself sometimes, all right, Natalie, do not lay back down, because you're going to set yourself backwards. That's that 1%. Get up and get going. And it works. I get up and I'm gone. Get my tea and I get going. Write my affirmation, do a little exercise, and start my day. So the 2-step process requires you to decide to be the person that you want to be. So he talks about the 2-step process. What 2 things do we need to do to start this journey? Hey, cuz, how are you? Good morning. So there's a 2-step process to change, right? And we need to decide on the person that we want to be, and then we have to prove it with small wins. When we prove it with small wins, that means that we are doing little things. That's that 1% every morning, right? So if I wanted to be a personal trainer, I'm going to have to look at what a personal trainer does. Now, not the exercising part, not the eating part. I'm looking at the fact that they show up for their appointments. They also practice what they preach. They have a good one. They definitely are committed to the task. They're knowledgeable. They're trustworthy because you're trusting them to guide you through an area that you have no knowledge or experience about, right? So those are the things that we have to look at. The attributes of a personal trainer is exactly what you have to focus on, working towards doing for yourself as you are on your journey. If it's a personal trainer, if it's you, I personally am going into for finances, financial advisors. What attributes does that person have? What characteristics do they display on the job? They're trustworthy. They're knowledgeable. They understand. They're ethical. Those are certain things that you have to display in your life and show for yourself and to other people, so that way you can move into that direction, right? Time management, all of these things, organized. Those are all attributes that you have to aspire to developing on a regular basis, routinely, so that way you are able to commit to the change that you want. Basically, this gentleman is saying that it's like a feedback loop, right? Feedback loop. So our habits shape our identity, and our identity shapes our habits. It's like a two-way street. Boom, 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 back and forth. You work on your identity, you're shaping your habits. Boom, boom. You're just going to keep working on both as you try to make small changes to your life, right? As I wrap up, what he's saying is, before we get into the book and him giving us even more steps and assignments on paying attention to what we are doing in our lives, what we need to do is we need to sit back, right? So this is what I want us to do. This is the assignment for next week. You're going to come very, very clear with the vision that you see for yourself in the next 5 years, right? So I want to be a homeowner. What does a homeowner look like? What does a homeowner need to do? I want to have my own business. I want to work from home and I don't want to have an employer. So what does it mean to have, what does it mean? What do I have to do to have my own business, manage my own finances, set my own time? What things do I have to do on a regular basis? Actually, not a regular basis, daily. So that way I'm going to see myself produce the results of that role. And then guess what? Within that time frame, you're going to see yourself there, because every one of us has set a goal at some point in time in their life, and we've achieved that goal. The only thing is, goal setting is more of a temporarily based thing that we do, right? I'm setting the goal to lose 10 pounds. Well, after you lose the 10 pounds, does that mean you go back to eating the way you did? That's usually what happens, right? So that's why this gentleman is saying, I have to keep tapping the phone, guys, because it keeps going blank. But what the man's saying is, we don't need to set goals. That's not our primary thing. What we need to do is we have to implement strategies. So the strategy is, I'm going to wake up every day at a certain time to help myself. I'm going to budget every week consistently at a certain time. I'm going to exercise and build a routine of exercising. Hey, how are you, girl? Good morning. I'm going to do these things, these steps every single day. It's repetition. So that way, the change will come. And the thing is, we don't pressure ourselves about the change. We take our time. There are times where, you know what, you may fall. It doesn't mean, oh, you know what, I slipped, so I'm gonna just keep slipping. I'm gonna forget it. No, it's not working. I don't know about anybody else, but the internet connection in here is not happening today. I don't know why, because it's very early and my bill's paid. So yes, I'm finishing up. But it's been doing this the whole time, cutting in and out, sorry. And then we need to find out, what does it require? What do we require to be able to change? What do we need? What things do we need to make changes in our life? So we want to think about who we want to become. What do we need to do to make these changes? And we need to start speaking more positively to ourselves. That little voice inside our head is no good. That little voice, there's one that outpowers it's like more dominant than the other. That voice that keeps telling us, you can't, that won't work. We have to speak louder over that voice. We got to get that one more quiet. So we're going to start speaking more positively to ourselves. And that's why having affirmations or writing affirmations, get a book, start writing positive things in your book about yourself and the things that you're going to do and the things that you will achieve. And you read it and you review it when that little voice speaks negatively to you. Okay? So next week, that's what we're up to. Okay? Who are we? And what did we have to do to change? And I'm going to start writing affirmations. Okay? So this was chapter 2 of the Atomic Habits, where he's basically talking about the layers of change. We're not going to go from the outcome approach, which is I need to be a personal trainer. We're going to go from identifying who we want to be. So that way we can say, okay, now I know what I need to work towards. And we instead of peeling the layers off, we're going to break through the problems and move forward. So you guys, thank you so much for your time. I'm sorry that I had to keep pressing the phone, and actually with all that's happening with this technology, it just threw me off. But you guys have a blessed day. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me. If you don't know the book, it is The Atomic Habits by James Clear. So far, it's a great read. So if you're interested, get a copy, all right? Hey, Jay, what's up? Hey, I'm just finished. I just finished. Love you too, Carla. Thank you guys for joining me. Have a blessed day. And next Wednesday, okay? So make sure, Jay, what we're doing is, well, hear me about Jay. Because it's Mark. Mark, sorry. You know what? What we're doing is next week we're identifying exactly who is we want to come. So you are like a wicked DJ, right? And you know that's what you want to do. Your vision, I could see you grand scaled. Once the quarantine is over, you're out and about. You're doing it. You're traveling. You're playing with the biggest sounds and the biggest artists. Well, visualize yourself there, right? And then what you need to do is you need to take a look at the things that you need to do to be able to get there. Not, okay, I need to make sure that I have, the wickedest gear, or I need to have my equipment. No, you don't need that. What you need to do is make sure that, okay, I understand time management. I know how to communicate with people in different areas, because you have the organizers of the events, you have the artists, you're going to have the security. So you're going to make sure that those are the things, your communication, your time management. You're going to look at those areas of your life. So that way, if you change those habits, it will naturally become a part of you, which will then become a part of any area of your life. So success will come at that point. So that's the short of what it was about. Okay. So part 3 is next week. This week, take a look at yourself, and you guys have a blessed day. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.